The Quran versus Hadith, Unveiling a Hidden Conflict. Hi, I'm Mahfouz from Bangladesh. Today I will discuss a crucial issue in Islam, the importance of the Quran and the dangers of misinterpreting it. Some people cherry-pick Quranic verses for personal gain, often prioritizing fabricated hadiths for financial benefit. This act, according to the video, goes against the core message of the Quran and is likened to the actions of hypocrites and deceivers, Dajjal. The video emphasizes the importance of directly connecting with Allah through understanding and following the Quran. It highlights the need to prioritize the Quran's authority over questionable hadiths. The focus is on the Quran as the central and authentic source of Islamic guidance, recognizing and avoiding those who misuse religious texts for personal gain, establishing a personal connection with Allah through the Quran. Now, deep attention please. Those who believe some parts of the Quran and do not believe some parts are hypocrites in the language of the Quran. And the hypocrites prepare themselves for permanent destruction by their actions. Allah says, "These hypocrites do not deceive Allah and His Messenger, rather they deceive themselves." When the awakened soul tells people to understand and obey the Quran, at that time, Dajjal in robes, i.e. deceivers, clearly avoided the Quran for the sake of Hadith. When they spoke of the Quran, their bodies were on fire. Where they should be happy, they were not happy and began to oppose. They opposed the clear Quran. The nation is caught in their trap, so it is not able to understand the truth. When it comes to understanding and obeying the Quran, whoever opposes it is undoubtedly the enemy of Allah on earth, because all their actions are against the Quran. Allah says in Surah Baqarah that you should not use a single verse of the Quran for materialistic purposes. And these Dajjals are using Quran and Hadith for their materialistic interests. They are not doing anything for the sake of God. Who allowed them to use Quran and Hadith as capital for their bread and sustenance? Who allowed them to earn money by praying for people? Allah said in Ayatul Kursi, "Who can intercede with Allah except by Allah's permission?" As if they are the agents of Allah to recommend people to Allah in exchange for taking money from people. But Allah directly says, "Who is there? Who can recommend to Him without His permission?" No one can intercede with Allah without Allah's permission, and Allah's permission is granted only to the saints of Allah and no one else. Allah has asked all people to do halal work according to their ability. Allah's Quran and namaz, fasting, hajj, did not ask to use zakat as a means of running one's family, but clearly prohibited it in the Quran. Those who do this are clearly anti-Allah and anti-Quran, and their actions will not benefit them in the hereafter. And those who follow them are ruining their hereafter, and they will not be able to attain purity in this life. Never again. No matter how hard they try, once they look at themselves, they will understand. And Allah says in the Quran to the people, "Do not follow them, those who accept exchange from you, because the Prophet who brought this religion to mankind did not accept a single penny in exchange from any human being. Our Prophet did not teach people to pray for money. He did not teach Quran for money. Waj did not advise people about Allah in exchange for money. How ignorant this nation is, their eyes are blinded. They do not see who accepts the exchange and who calls upon Allah selflessly, or can't see or perceive. They are totally engrossed in Dajjal's seduction and wasting their precious time. Allah has ordered people to establish salat by themselves, i.e. to establish contact with Allah. Once their contact is established, then they will teach others how to communicate with Allah, will call others to establish salat. They will not accept any exchange for this. And the person who is in direct contact with Allah is not worried about the small things of the world. He can exchange even what he has in his pocket if someone needs it. They are doing what the Quran forbids, for the sake of Hadith. If you can be sure about any Hadith, it must be practiced. That is a very good thing. But when you talk about the Quran, why does your body burn? The Quran is obligatory, and the Hadith is Sunnah. But there is no opportunity to underestimate the Hadith, because the words of our Prophet are the words of Allah, and the deeds of the Prophet are the deeds of Allah. The problem is not in observing the Hadith. The problem is, since Dajjal, i.e. deceivers, have no chance to change the Quran, by making millions of hadiths in their own names, continuing them in the name of the Prophet, has turned the nation away from the Quran. It is not necessary to understand the Quran as such. Even if you don't understand it, you will get 10 good deeds after death if you do not understand the Quran here. And do not act accordingly. And do not kill the soul of your own mother while alive. After death, far from good, you will be left with nothing but destruction. Because Allah says in the Quran that everything is perishable except the existence of God, and the Spirit of the Lord is within you. If you cannot communicate with that Spirit, i.e. establish salat, then you will be left with nothing but destruction. You observe both faz sunnat, but what do you mean by saying sunnat as opposed to faz? Those who oppose the Quran do not obey the Quran. In the words of the Quran, these are the infidels. The believing servants of Allah and the wise and virtuous people fought with the disbelievers all their lives. Surah Baqarah. Thanks for watching. Stay with us. Be part of Breaking Bias. Allah Hafez.